When most people hear the word watermelon, they probably picture the same thing. A big green melon, red inside, black seeds, or maybe no seeds at all. Cut it open on a hot summer day, put it in the fridge for a few hours, and you already know what you're going to get. But watermelons are a lot more interesting than that. There are hundreds of different varieties grown around the world, and some of them look almost nothing like the watermelon you would normally find at a grocery store. Some have yellow flesh, some have orange flesh, some are completely white inside, some have skin covered in yellow spots that look like stars, and then there's one watermelon that can sell for hundreds of dollars. The strange part is that many of these aren't new inventions. Some are old heirloom varieties that have been grown for generations, while others were created through years of breeding. So today we're looking at a bunch of watermelons you probably never knew existed, and by the end of this list, you might never look at a watermelon the same way again. Sugar Baby. Let's start with one that looks familiar, but has a major difference. This is the Sugar Baby watermelon. Instead of being the huge watermelon you might expect to carry home from a grocery store, Sugar Baby is much smaller. Most of them are around 6 to 10 pounds. That might still sound big, but compare that to some watermelon varieties that can weigh more than 20 or even 30 pounds. Sugar Baby is basically the watermelon for someone who doesn't want to spend half an hour trying to find room for a giant melon in the refrigerator. It has a dark green rind, and when you cut it open, you'll find the bright red flesh that most people expect from a watermelon, but the reason Sugar Baby became popular is its size and sweetness. It was introduced in the 1950s and became especially useful for home gardeners because you don't need a huge farm to grow one. The vines still need room, but the actual fruit is small enough for a family to handle without having watermelon sitting in the fridge for a week. And despite its smaller size, it doesn't mean you're getting a watered down version of a normal watermelon. It's known for having sweet, crisp, red flesh, yellow crimson. Now let's cut one open, and instead of red, it's yellow. This is the yellow crimson watermelon. At first glance, it can look like a normal watermelon from the outside. It has a green rind with darker green stripes, and the shape isn't all that unusual, but the second you cut into it, things get weird. The inside is bright yellow, and no, it isn't an underripe. That's the natural color of the flesh. Yellow watermelons aren't some kind of mistake. The color comes from the pigments found in the fruit. In fact, there are several varieties of yellow fleshed watermelon. Yellow crimson is one of them. Flavor is also a little different from what you might expect. It's still sweet and juicy, but many people describe watermelon as having a slightly different flavor from traditional red watermelon. Some people even compare parts of the taste to honey or other sweet fruits. Even though it looks different, the texture and refreshing quality are still very much watermelon. Yellow crimson isn't just a novelty either. It's a real cultivated variety that has been sold for home growing and specialty production. So if you've only ever seen red watermelon, this is one of the easiest varieties to start with if you want to see how different watermelons can become. Orange Glow. If yellow watermelon wasn't strange enough, how about orange? Meet Orange Glow. As you can probably guess from the name, the flesh is orange, but this isn't a tiny little melon. Orange Glow can grow into a large watermelon with some fruit reaching around 20 pounds or more. The outside is also different from the typical dark green watermelon. It has a lighter green rind with darker green markings, but once you cut it open, the orange flesh is impossible to miss. And this isn't the kind of orange that looks slightly yellow. It's a strong, bright orange color. The flavor is another reason why this watermelon gets attention. Orange Glow is known for being very sweet, and its flavor has sometimes been compared to melon or other tropical fruit. That makes it a fun watermelon to serve at a party. You could put a regular red watermelon on one side of the table and Orange Glow on the other. People might assume you're serving two completely different fruits, but they're both watermelons. Orange Glow is also an older variety that has become popular with people who grow unusual fruits, and that's one of the coolest things about heirloom watermelons. Grocery stores usually focus on varieties that are easy to ship, store, and sell. That means you don't always see the strangest varieties in regular supermarkets, but gardeners and specialty growers can grow varieties based on things like flavor, color, size, or history. That's how something like Orange Glow survives. It doesn't need to be the most common watermelon in America. It just needs people who think it's worth growing, and considering that it looks like something put in an orange inside a watermelon, it's easy to understand why people are interested in it. Saskatchewan. Now we're getting into something that looks completely wrong. This is the cream of Saskatchewan. Cut it open, and inside of red, yellow, or orange flesh, you get white, or more accurately, a creamy white color. And unlike some modern novelty fruits, this is an old variety with a long history. Cream of Saskatchewan is a heirloom variety associated with Saskatchewan, Canada. It's believed to have come to the area through Russian immigrants, although its history goes back even further. The fruit itself is relatively small and round. Most are around 6 to 10 pounds. The rind has light and dark green stripes, so from the outside it looks like a watermelon, but inside it's almost completely white. And here's the part that makes this variety especially interesting. It can grow well in cooler climates. That's useful because watermelons are usually associated with hot summer weather. You think of giant fields under a hot sun, but Cream of Saskatchewan was valued in places where the growing season wasn't as friendly to some larger watermelon varieties. The flesh is sweet and juicy, although the experience is obviously strange if you're used to red watermelon. There's also a downside. The rind is relatively thin and can be prone to splitting. So this isn't necessarily the watermelon you'd want to throw around, but that's part of what makes heirloom varieties interesting. They aren't always designed around the same goals as modern supermarket fruit. A modern commercial watermelon might be selected for durability during shipping. A heirloom might be kept alive because it tastes good, grows well in a certain region, or has a story behind it. Cream of Saskatchewan has all three, and if you cut one open at a summer cookout, don't be surprised if people think you accidentally bought a giant white cucumber. Moon and Stars. This might be the most beautiful watermelon on the list. It's called Moon and Stars, and the name makes perfect sense once you see it. The rind is dark green, sometimes appearing almost black, but covering the surface are yellow spots, lots of small ones. Those are the stars. Then you'll usually find one or more much larger yellow spots. But what's really interesting is that Moon and Stars is an old heirloom variety. It dates back to the 1920s. At one point, it nearly disappeared from cultivation. Then gardeners and seed collectors helped bring it back. That's a story that happens with a lot of heirloom vegetables. A variety can be popular for years. Then newer varieties become more common. The watermelon itself can get pretty large, with some reaching 20 pounds or more. The flesh inside is usually pink or red, so unlike the outside, the inside isn't completely strange. There's even another strange detail. The leaves of the Moon and Stars can also have yellow spots, so the unusual pattern isn't only on the fruit. The entire plant can have that spotted appearance. Black Diamond. Now we're going in the opposite direction. Instead of a watermelon covered in spots, this one has a very dark rind. It's called the Black Diamond. The name isn't subtle. The rind can become so dark that it looks almost black. And unlike some of the smaller specialty varieties we've talked about, Black Diamond can get huge. Some can weigh around 30 pounds or more. That's a serious watermelon. The variety has been around for decades and became known for its large size and sweet red flesh. But here's what makes Black Diamond interesting. The watermelon you see in the grocery store is not necessarily what older watermelons looked like. A lot of older varieties were much bigger and had thicker rinds. Black Diamond has been used for more than just eating fresh. Some older watermelon varieties had thick rinds that made them useful for things like pickling. The watermelon rind isn't exactly useless. In some cultures, in older recipes, the rind is cooked, pickled, or preserved, so a watermelon with a thick rind could actually have another purpose. Of course, Black Diamond is still perfectly good for slicing open and eating, but its size and dark skin make it stand out from the watermelons most people see today. Golden Midget. This is the Golden Midget, and this one is tiny. When it's growing, the rind is green, but as the fruit becomes ripe, the outside can turn a bright yellow or golden color. Most watermelons stay green on the outside when they're ripe. Golden Midget doesn't. The fruit is also much smaller than the giant watermelons we've already talked about. It was developed in the United States in the late 1950s and was bred from small watermelon and yellow-skinned watermelon lines. The result is a little watermelon with golden skin and pink flesh. So you get this strange combination where the outside looks like a yellow pumpkin, but the inside looks like a watermelon. The size is another reason gardeners like it. Instead of growing a watermelon that takes up a huge amount of space and produces a giant fruit, Golden Midget gives you something smaller. It's almost like the compact version of a watermelon, and because the skin changes color, it's also easier to tell you when the fruit is getting close to ripe. That makes it a fun variety for people who like growing unusual plants. Densake. This is the Densake watermelon, a variety from Hokkaido, Japan, and the first thing you'll notice is the outside. It's extremely dark, but the real reason Densake becomes famous is its price. Some individual Densake watermelons have sold for hundreds of dollars. In 2008, one of the first harvested Densake watermelons of the season reportedly sold at auction for about $6,300. That's more money than many people would spend on a refrigerator full of regular watermelon. So why would anyone pay that much? Part of the answer is rarity. Densake is grown in limited quantities on Hokkaido. It's also associated with careful growing and presentation. The melons are known for their dark skin, round shape, and sweet red flesh. In Japan, certain fruits can be treated as luxury gifts. That might sound strange if you're used to buying a watermelon for $5 or $10 at a grocery store, but in Japan, premium fruit can be presented almost like a high-end gift. Carolina Cross. If you thought Black Diamond was big, you haven't seen anything yet. This is the Carolina Cross, and some examples can become absolutely enormous. Carolina Cross is famous among giant watermelon growers because it can produce fruits weighing well over 100 pounds. That's right, over 100 pounds. That's no longer a watermelon you can carry under one arm, and at that size, you need to treat it like a piece of furniture. Some record-setting Carolina Cross watermelons have weighed hundreds of pounds. The exact weight depends on the strain, growing conditions, and how much attention the plant gets. In giant watermelons, growing is a serious hobby. People carefully manage the soil. They give the plants plenty of water and nutrients. They protect the developing fruit. They may even grow only a small number of fruits per plant so the plant can put more energy into them. The goal isn't always flavor, it's size.